Good day everyone, my name is Princess Januel Dehanyo and our subject for today's video is General Biology. Today, I will be introducing several scientists who have created their own mark in the field of biology. Let's start. Firstly, Robert Hooke, who was an English polymath who was active as a scientist and an architect during his time. He is the first to observe the cell in a thin slice of cork and to visualize microorganisms using a microscope. During the 1600s, or the 1665 to be exact, he discovered many tiny pores that he called cells, which derived from the Latin word celia or cella, which means storeroom or chamber. Next is Anthony Philips van Leeuwenhoek. He was a Dutch microbiologist and microscopist in the golden age of Dutch science and technology. A largely self-taught man in science, he is commonly known as the father of microbiology and one of the first microscopists and microbiologists. In 1676, Leeuwenhoek used a handmade microscope to observe pond water and discovered one-celled organisms like bacteria and protozoa, which he called tiny animalcules. He also made a few detailed drawings of each king of tiny organisms living in it. Another is Matthias Jakob Schleiden. He was a German botanist who, with Theodor Schwann, co-founded the cell theory. In 1838, Schleiden defined the cell as the basic unit of plant structure, and a year later, Schwann defined the cell as the basic unit of animal structure. Schleiden made a thorough investigation of plants and established the theory that all parts of the plant are made up of cell. Meanwhile, Schwann, the German zoologist who stood beside Schleiden, made a similar study on animal cells and also concluded that all parts of animals are composed of cells. Then we have Rudolf Ludwig Karl Virchow, who was a German physician, anthropologist, pathologist, prehistorian, biologist, writer, editor, and politician. He is known as the father of modern pathology and as the founder of social medicine, and to his colleagues, the Pope of medicine. Virchow's many discoveries include finding cells in bone and connective tissue and describing substances such as myelin. He was the first person to recognize leukemia. He was also the first person to explain the mechanism of pulmonary thromboembolism, and in 1859, Virchow also theorized that living cells come from pre-existing cells. Next, we have another Robert Brown. He was a Scottish botanist who discovered the cell nucleus in orchids. He was best known for his descriptions of cell nuclei and of continuous motion of minute particles in solution, which came to be called Brownian motion. Brown also studied all plants and found that each plant has an exposed nucleus, making him believe that only plants had a nucleus. Last but definitely not the least, another duo, Max Knoll and Ernst Ruska. The two of them developed an interest in the idea of electron microscopy. Realizing that optical microscopes were limited by the wavelength of the light beams used to view a specimen, Ruska determined that since electrons have much shorter wavelengths than light, they could be used to obtain greater resolving power. With this, they invented the electron microscope, which paved the way to modern cytology. Though crude, the device is capable of magnifying objects up to 400 times their original size. Because of them, numerous biologists were able to discover the different parts of organelles found inside the cell. Bonus part, as frequently mentioned, our word of the day is cell. Another star in our discussion aside from the scientists that I've mentioned earlier. With that said, I would also like to introduce to you the cell theory. In the cell theory, it is stated that number 1, all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Number 2, cell is the basic unit of life in all living things. Number 3, all cells come from pre-existing cells. And that's all from me. I hope our discussion was helpful and that you learned from our lesson today. Thank you for watching!